A new Desres is on the market in Chiswick at what estate agents say is the bargain price of £70,000. For that, you get a converted garage that's only 18 feet long and just over 8 feet wide. Simon Neve's been taking a peek inside.
It's said to be the smallest detached house in London, a likely claim as it's hard to imagine anything tinier than theatre critic Jeremy Kingston's home.
Hi, come in.
Once inside, you've got the back door ahead, leading to a 4-foot-long garden. The bathroom is tucked away underneath the stairs. And at the top of the stairs, there's a mini kitchen. For your £70,000, you get the living room at the other end, facing the Thames. And that's it. In case you missed it on the way up, here's another view of the downstairs, the bedroom. Jeremy Kingston, theatre critic of the Times, has written many reviews here. He and his wife have a Dorset cottage, but now they want a bigger London house. What was the appeal of it when you first bought it?
I think we were in a state of panic and would have accepted absolutely anything that had a roof and some walls. We were very much in need of somewhere quickly, and even though there were so many of us, my wife and I, 2 children and various pets, it seemed a possibility for a short time anyway.
Today there was no shortage of visitors to inspect the former garage. They've already had a firm offer of £67,000. With neighbouring houses on sale at £250,000, number 59, tiny though it is, seems a bargain. And it's feet from the River Thames. A mixed blessing today, since it was as swollen as London house prices, thanks to the spring tides. Simon Neve at London's smallest house for Thames News.
It's the 75th anniversary tomorrow of one of the worst maritime disasters, the sinking of the liner the Titanic. It's being commemorated in London by an auction of memorabilia from and about the ship that's attracted interest from around the world.
As the Titanic set sail from Southampton on her first and final voyage, the mood was of optimism and adventure. A bigger and ostensibly safer ship had never been built, but within days she went to the bottom of the Atlantic, taking 1,500 people with her. A picture of the iceberg which sealed her fate is just one of the sale items in the anniversary auction. An auction launched on the plans of the Titanic used at the disaster inquiry. Christie's in New York didn't think they'd sell, so Onslow Auctions here took up the challenge. Now there are 90 other items on offer, and the plans alone could fetch £20,000.
People all over the world are still fascinated by this tragic event.
Why do you think it is?
I suppose the magnitude of the disaster and the romance of it as well. It took 2.5 hours to sink. People had time to think, right, I'm going to stay with my wife. People had time to dwell on what they thought the best thing to do was. Perhaps the fact that people thought the ship was unsinkable helped people to stay on board until the last moment.
One of the 711 who did survive, a newlywed, took an original nameplate from a lifeboat in memory of a husband who perished. There's a letter from journalist William Stead, who died too. He wrote to an astrologer who'd warned him, "I hope that none of the misfortunes which you may seem to think may happen to myself and my wife will happen." Then the most bizarre, Lot 23, the Titanic's steering system, which still lies 12,000 feet down. For a bid of over £100,000 would act as a commission for salvage.
Whenever something as fascinating as the Titanic is around, there's always going to be people who want to go and investigate it or probe into it. So I don't think it's ever going to be laid to rest.
But as the arguments over the mechanics and morality of salvage continue, so do the legends, like the band playing on as the ship went down. Marcus Powell for Thames News.
On to sport now, and this year's All England Tennis Championships at Wimbledon will be the richest ever, thanks to a staggering 16.5% rise in the prize money. Here's Graham Miller.
Pay rises have been made right across the board for this summer's championships, which start on June the 22nd, with the prize fund approaching £2.5 million. The biggest benefactor will be the winner of the men's singles. If Boris Becker can make it 3 wins in a row, he'll scoop a giant-sized cheque for £155,000, 15,000 more than last year. That's closely followed by the women's prize, up £13,500 to £139,500. Even first-round losers will be cashing in, with just over £2,000 for the men and £1,600 for the women. The organisers say the massive pay rises have taken into account the new law that requires winnings to be taxed at source. Now, Surrey meet Kent tomorrow in a 55-over friendly at the Oval. In charge for the first time will be new skipper Ian Gregg. Also in the Surrey side again, David Smith, the batsman they sacked 4 years ago. A new season and a new lease of cricketing life for Ian Gregg on the right and David Smith. Gregg, the younger brother of former England skipper Tony Gregg, has been out of the game for a year after being released by Sussex. Smith gave the game up in February to concentrate on his decorating business, but has come back to Surrey for a third spell. Clearly, his latest return is a popular one.
Well, I suppose I left under a little bit of a cloud, but hopefully things have... I've improved my behaviour, I think, and you know, hopefully things will just work out okay. They seem quite happy with me now.
It's also an important season for wicketkeeper Jack Richards. He played a key part for England during their successful winter and intends to consolidate his position. For Gregg, meantime, Surrey's approach was unexpected after his year's absence from the county game. The offer of captaincy, he says, came as a thunderbolt.
Well, I must admit I was a bit surprised, but once I'd thought about it and talked about it with family and what have you, I thought, you know, this will be a real challenge. It'll be a new environment. It'll be great. You know, I know all the players here. I started with a lot of them in second team cricket, you know, back in the mid-70s, so just a question of saying hi again, like being away for one winter.
Finally, Perry Groves is the Arsenal man to replace injured Niall Quinn against Newcastle tonight. Groves, who will partner Charlie Nicholas for only the third time this season, gets the vote ahead of teenager Paul Merson. Now, Jack, did we miss out on all this good weather today?
Well, we did miss out just a little bit, Graham. Incidentally, the weather's going to be great for that football match tonight if you want to go, but as Graham said, most of us were unfortunate today. For miles and miles around, the cloud broke and there was warm sunshine, but much of the Thames area had to wait until just about now before the cloud broke. We mostly stayed under a grey sky. It's dry, though, and that dry state of affairs will stay for most of the rest of the week. But at this stage, I have to warn you that it looks like breaking down during the course of the weekend. That's our luck, isn't it? The satellite view is of thick rain cloud moving over parts of northern Britain there, with thinner stuff in southern areas, eventually, as I mentioned, concentrating in that narrow strip over us. Now, that's going. It's already going now. But the trouble is that the cloud in the north will work its way in our direction overnight, so we might just have the same sort of problem tomorrow as we had today. Looking into the forecast then, tonight first, it's going to stay dry. It'll become misty in the night, though, some patchy fog around. Not too cold, though, 7 degrees Celsius, about the mark for our area. Tomorrow, a fair bit of cloud at first, but a good chance of breaks in the cloud eventually to allow a little warm sunshine, and the temperature a little higher than it was today. Thursday, dry and warm. Friday, dry and warm, but after that, as I said, it does look as though it's going to turn changeable over the weekend, and a little bit colder, I fear, as well. John.
Thanks, Jack. Time for two headlines from ITN. Dr. Pauline Cutting and Nurse Susan Whiting have safely left the Palestine refugee camp they've been working in for 6 months. They're in Cyprus on the first leg of their journey home. IRA quartermaster Michael McKenny has been jailed for 16 years for his part in the seaside bombing campaign of 1985, including the attack on the Grand Hotel in Brighton. And that's it for tonight. Robin Houston is here with the late news at 10:30. Meantime, from Paul, Graham, Jack, myself and everyone, a very good night to you all.